While you were sleeping, our utilities have been measuring, tooling, analyzing our usage information in your homes. What does that mean to you, the user? What is a smart meter? Today on FIT TV, we have someone who is knowledgeable and spent a lot of time on his analysis in this area. Andy Pettersen has been a utilities analyst of late with a lot to share about his recent news, and I know you will be surprised to hear about it. I was absolutely shocked. Welcome, Andrew.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
Now, when I first saw your presentation last month, I was very much surprised, and it began to make a little sense to me when I started to see trucks around the neighborhood. I don't remember them concentrating in one area, but I have seen a lot of trucks. Now, were you saying that in Huntington this is happening a little bit more often now?
So on an average day, driving, I work in Jericho, so on an average day for the last year, when I drive to work, it's about a half an hour, I pass clusters of utility trucks. For instance, PSE&G was in Laurel Hollow on 25A in one area right by a nursery for 3 months. Every day there were 6 to 7 trucks. Huntington Village, the roads are dug up in the village, and if anyone takes notice, every day you go by, there'll be a cluster of either National Grid trucks, PSE&G trucks,
Right.
or their contractors. And then also Suffolk County Water Authority and Verizon. But the trucks, if you go through Long Island, especially on the North Shore, every day there are utility trucks going out in numbers, and it's shocking to me to see so many trucks. And I would think that their campaign is misleading people to think that they're doing something constructive and helpful, but what they're actually doing is installing a smart grid without our consent and without our knowledge.
And now how would you come to the conclusion, just because you saw the numbers of trucks, that they were doing something nefarious?
Easy. But they're going around, and I've done a lot of research and I was awake. So I knew that this was going on in the country, and I knew it was a matter of time before it hit our area. But the first thing they'll do is they'll come in and they'll tell you that they're upgrading your meter, and they're going to install a digital meter. So you're going to lose your analog meter. So a smart meter is the old meter is the one that I have in my house currently is an analog meter. You look at it and it goes in circles and it measures the consumption of your utility, and you can confirm the readings. The new meters are digital. So the digital meter does not have any way of verifying the reading, and it just flashes. You'll see it go like this every couple of seconds, maybe every 5 seconds, every 15 seconds. It just flashes a reading.
What, a red light or something, or a little
red numbers,
light?
red numbers, and it's a very sleek-looking meter. It's small and it looks innocuous and it looks very high tech. Unfortunately, it's the Trojan horse waiting to get in the door, because once it's installed in your house and it gets connected to the mesh network, which is what they're putting in now, and they've already accomplished finishing it on Fire Island, then you're basically, there are so many issues. Trespass is one of the biggest issues that I could think of right now. Huge trespass issue.
I guess I can see the possibility of a lot of different issues constitutionally, and also private property rights and things that are like that. My confusing is how come we don't know about that? So I just don't know why no announcement was made that they would be coming on our property, taking instrumentation to our homes to determine what? The amount of money we have coming in? Amount of usage we may have, so they don't have to come in? Is this to save them money? Is that what this is all about?
What the guys is, they're going to tell you, and they've done it through glossy brochures in the mail. That's how I knew first that it was here. I was waiting for it to get here to Long Island, and I got a glossy brochure from National Grid a year ago saying we're upgrading your meter, so we don't have to spend all this money on utility meter readers. We're going to put a smart meter.
I thought so, yeah.
And that's what they say. They're saying they're saving. They're saying they're doing it to
which
save
makes
you
sense
money.
economically if that's their only intention.
And even it doesn't, of course. Right now, the government is funding them, and we're spending of our taxpayers' dollars billions and billions of dollars. And it has nothing to do with saving money on a meter reader, because a meter reader is it's not a big cost. The amount that they're spending on this infrastructure is mind-boggling. It's billions. I think I'm talking $100 billion. So the way they sell it to the public is we can just drive by your house, and we have an instrument, and it can read the meter, so we don't have to inconvenience you and go on your property. We don't have to go in your home.
Which, on the sound of it,
sounds great.
Right.
But unfortunately, what they don't tell you is trespass issues, health issues, privacy issues, huge issues.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is we have a Constitution. Last time I checked, New York State Constitution and the United States Constitution, and it violates our constitutional rights because of privacy issues, trespass issues, and also health issues.
And now, if somebody were to FOIL request this, you know, Freedom of Information law, using that opportunity, what have you tried?
I've done the Freedom of Information Act on a different issue unrelated to this, and I got responses, and I spent a lot of time and effort, and I really ended up getting nothing. So I don't, unless you have a lot of money behind you, the Freedom of Information Act, in my opinion, based on my experience, is not available to anyone unless you have enough money to, first of all, pay for the copying and pay for the legal fees that they incur that you get charged, and then to also be able to pay to contest when they come back and say there's no information.
It's funny, you have to lay out money right away always to get some information out of people. You got to buy the information. I always thought that was odd. We didn't touch on the radio frequencies. The radio, was it what the RF travels through your body to its destination? What is that? Okay,
so the way these meters work is, and I think the best way to describe it is, these are 10 homes.
It is radio frequency,
Radio
right?
frequency.
Okay.
So these are 10 homes, right? My fingers are each a home. Each one of these homes has a smart meter on it, okay? So all these smart meters interact with each other, and they all go to a box. The box is over here. You can see them everywhere in Huntington. That's where I live. They're all over. Every single couple telephone poles, you'll see a beautiful big box that I never saw before with lights on it. They're brand new. So all these meters interact with each other, and they're all connected through a grid, and they all go to this box. And then from this box, they go to the local telephone, cell phone tower, and then from there to a satellite. And this goes on every 15 seconds.
Is this a Wi-Fi oriented?
It's Wi-Fi oriented. So the issue is if this is going from house to house, right? So, and then not only that, it starts at your appliances. So every 15 seconds, the electric smart meter will go through your entire house and go to all the RDIF chips on all the new appliances that they're promoting. Through all their glossy brochures, they're telling you we'll give you a rebate of $500 if you buy one of the endorsed appliances, because they have an RDIF chip which can be read every 15 seconds by the smart meter.
You know, of course, the average person is going to look at this or hear this program, they're going to say this is a conspiracy someplace. Now, I've seen enough over the years doing this television show to find that people have some unusual ideas. But this one makes a lot of sense.
I think it's all money. This is a huge windfall for all the companies that are doing this. I don't know about a conspiracy, but I certainly think it's a money game. Because, so if we step back again to the issue, so you have these 10 homes and they're all connected to a smart network. Anything, so basically the public utility companies stealing your property rights because you own, not only do you own the physical soil that your house is located on, you have air rights, okay? In Manhattan,
nobody ever paid for that.
No one ever paid for it. They're taking your air rights without giving you any money, and they're using them as a means of traveling through with their radio frequencies.
If they were allowed to take anything, because it's never been a part of any document that I ever saw, that would be a loophole that they could attain.
Because it's essentially, you're 100% correct, because what they'll do is they're going to rely on a utility easement. Every time everyone buys a house, you get a title report. I'm a real estate lawyer.
the title report, yeah.
The title report you're going to have a utility easement. The utility easement only covers wires. It doesn't cover anything going through the air. So what they're doing is essentially stealing in a very clever way. They're stealing all your property rights, because your air rights are extremely valuable. In Manhattan, people pay a fortune for air rights.
That's right.
So they're basically taking your rights, and they're going to create pathways. And the pathways are going to be used, they're going to lie, and they're going to tell you every hour, every 15 seconds, they're going to use your, and then anything in the way of this radio frequency goes through your body. So the radio frequency...
You mean if you happen to be in the way of the transfer of the radio frequency?
Yeah, it goes through anything. It goes through walls, it goes through anything, just like the cell phone towers. Anything in the way, it goes through. But unfortunately, in this case, you don't choose to turn your phone on and use it and turn it off. You have no choice.
You're not pressing a button. It's happening to you whether you like it or not.
Not happening whether you like it or not, and the amount of frequencies going to all the appliances in your house, including lamps, toaster ovens.
Yeah, I didn't understand that part. You were referring to that which would be a new item which has this technical ability.
Okay, so like for instance, they're very clever. So I was getting a new my pool filter device needed to be repaired or replaced. The pool company said, if you get one of the ones that PSE&G is endorsing, they'll give you half back, and they'll turn it on and off for you during the day when you're not using it if they think that it'll save you money. So they're going to take over control over when I use my pool filtration and when I don't. They'll do the same thing. In this last summer, Newsday reported that I think over a couple thousand people on Long Island had their air conditioning turned off during the day because PSE&G felt.
Yeah. Did that happen?
It was in the newspaper. So they turned off air conditioning to...
Was it called what it was at the time? Would the newspaper article print, or did the journalist attach itself to any of these conversations we're having now? No.
No.
So it was called what, a power outage?
No, they did connect it. They didn't say it was the smart grid. They just said through satellite technology, they were able to turn off about 1,500 people's air conditioning on Long Island during the day when it was
to stop peak. The power grid from going down.
They said basically they wanted to, what they're making money on is keeping everything at a consistent rate of usage. They can make a fortune if they can keep everything this. So in other words, if everyone during peak time at 2 in the afternoon on a hot summer day is using air conditioning,
and they will,
it'll go like this. So what they want to do is they can make a fortune by keeping it like this. So what they're going to do is turn air conditioning off, even in people's homes that have respiratory issues.
This is scary.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I wouldn't want the power, I'm thinking out loud, but I wouldn't want the power grid to go down, because then no one has power.
I agree.
Someone else managing it doesn't sound good.
No. And the concern I
mean, what if you have somebody who's unhealthy and they need cool air to come into the house, a filtration issue for a cooling element needed for your health or something, and you need to keep that oxygen level cool, making this up, of course, but then that could be inhibited. So you could have, theoretically, you could have people suffering illnesses and ailments from this.
Yeah, like for instance, like the American Disabilities Act, I'm not an expert on the ADA, but I imagine it protects people that have disabilities. So if you have a disability or a respiratory issue, the air conditioning will go off in your home when it's deemed appropriate in their discretion, not based on any kind of standard.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
So how did you come to decide that, because it is unconstitutional, I see in your notes say unconstitutional, but there's no due process, there's nothing here. This many things being illegal about it, how did they come to that conclusion?
Oh, you mean the utility companies? Okay. So they've already acknowledged in paperwork that I've read, because I've read volumes on this, they've acknowledged that they know it's a constitutional issue.
Unconstitutional.
It's unconstitutional what they're doing. They've acknowledged it, and they said that
it's unconscionable too.
Unconscionable and unconstitutional.
Right.
And they basically they're aware of it, but they said until somebody somehow succeeds in a lawsuit, they don't care. They just know it's one of the risks. It's one of their risks, and they're weighing risks: money versus constitutional issues. And
wouldn't somebody have the ability to step into this that sees the unconstitutional aspect? Why isn't some legal team attacking this?
That's my question too. In California, I know there's a class action lawsuit, but I think this is a clear constitutional issue. And I'm a real estate attorney, so that's my thing. I do transactional work. I'm not a lawyer that goes to court.
Right.
And I even contacted the attorney from the movie about there was one of the huge constitutional lawyers I contacted, and they weren't interested in pursuing this. But I think this would be a clear-cut winner.
Well, when you say class action, you really be talking about a country's human condition. I mean, it goes beyond the class action. What class? You can't identify a class when you're talking about everybody.
Yeah, and I agree. And the one thing that before it gets to that point, maybe it needs to go a little bit further before it gets to the point where someone actually brings a...
Isn't that sad?
I agree. But the one thing you can do that I encourage everyone to do is there's a film called Take Back Your Power, and it's literally and the metaphor is take back your power. Not only the power that's coming into your house, but take back your power
Power to choose.
Power to choose, and the power of your Constitution, which is still here to protect us. And the thing I started doing is these utility companies are doing everything on your implied consent. So they're deeming you to have given your implied consent, because no one, unless you write them and tell them I don't approve.
Right, then you're automatically saying it's okay.
You automatically said it outside.
By default.
By default. So the key
What
is...
a thing to look forward to.
The key is put letters, and there are form letters on Take Back Your Power's website. I created forms, and the key is to notify all your public officials. Put it in writing. Don't be shy. You have rights. All you need to do is let them know you do not consent.
Who would you be writing to?
I wrote to the Chief Executive Officer of PSE&G, the Chief Executive Officer of National Grid, the Chief Executive Officer of Suffolk County Water Authority, the Governor.
The Water Authority, too, is involved in this?
Yeah, they've already done it. They're pretty much finished.
Wow.
They did it before anyone even knew. So basically, because a lot of them are in the ground in the street, they did it without anyone's knowledge or consent, except implied consent. They make up a story that you've you've given their implied consent.
What implied consent? Sounds like word trickery to me.
It is. Basically, when they give you a glossy brochure and they tell you that they're going to be installing smart meters, and you don't respond in writing and tell you, I don't consent, you've given your consent.
So if you don't give your consent, and everyone else in the neighborhood does, other than radio frequencies, what would you be saving or gifting yourself to by not consenting?
By not consenting, and it only takes one person, by the way. Think about it. One person in this smart grid, it's a mesh network. It doesn't work if someone doesn't consent.
So it's just traveling through.
All you need to do is get one person to make a lot of noise and not consent,
This is
and
incredible.
it's not gonna work. Because if you get a few people, especially if you get a few people that don't consent, it's gonna throw a wrench in the whole thing. And just by way of example, and I don't know exactly where it was. You could look it up online. There was a tractor trailer that just hit a telephone pole out where there was a smart meter network. The telephone pole went down. 1,500 people's meters blew up because they're all connected in a mesh network. It's a two-way network.
This is a major, major issue.
And there's a lot of fires. And for instance, there was just a fire on Fire Island, and it was reported that PSE&G saved their house. They actually created the fire with the smart meter, but they're telling I saved the house because...
How? And they saved the house how?
It's a story. It's
oh,
a story.
Yeah, it sounds like a story.
Yeah, it's a story.
Holy mackerel. I mean, I'm really struggling with the whole thing. I don't know where to go with it other than to continue the conversation or figure out a way to get the conversation to go to local communities. This television program gets out to YouTube, so a lot of people all over the country are going to see this eventually. We've had calls from different places in the country, so.
That's terrific. And I think the main thing is, Take Back Your Power is a film. I think everyone would be, it would be crazy if they don't watch it. It's basically about the smart meter network, and it's a great film by Josh Del Sol, who I met. He came to Huntington. I got him to come to the Cinema Arts Center and give a presentation.
Josh Del Sol?
Josh Del Sol. He actually came to Huntington, gave a presentation, and we've had his film shown, I think in June, about a year ago. And the one thing I encourage everyone to do is not be discouraged. We're going to succeed. All we need to do is just keep the campaign going, write letters, and take back your consent. Just let the public officials know you do not consent. And then when they respond to you, they're going to respond to you and say it's safe. You respond to that letter and say, I still don't consent. You always have to stay one letter ahead. And all you have to do is keep a paper trail. And I think it's really not that complicated. It just takes a little bit of time.
Like anything worth anything, it takes a while to get sometimes.
It does.
Stay one letter. I'm taking these notes down because I actually want to try this. See if I can get somewhere with it.
I have a form I'll give you.
Yeah, let me have that form. That'll help. So what else do they have to concern? This is all the utilities. Am I right? All the utilities?
The PSE&G is the worst because theirs is a two-way network, so it doesn't, like when you go to National Grid, the gas meter is not as bad because it's a one-way. It goes this way and it reads your meter. What happens with PSE&G is it's a two-way. That's why they blow up. the meters blow up and they create fires, because it goes back and forth and it reads. So it'll go this way, and then it takes your information, it reads it back every 15 seconds. It goes back and forth, and it goes to the nearest cell phone tower. That's where all the radio frequencies are going to create issues for health. The United States has limits for acceptable radio frequency.
What are they?
100 times higher than any other industrialized country, including China.
What is this, a threshold of acceptability in radio
Acceptability.
frequencies?
Basically, the acceptability limit, as I understand, is that it has to actually start to melt your brain before it's deemed unacceptable. So your brain would have to start to melt.
So the connection that people are making about the cell phone issue by holding it up to your ears, there's something to that then?
There is. I mean, I have one of these old cell phones I use, and I don't hold it up to my ear. I use it for texting occasionally. I turn it off when I'm not using it. That's a whole other issue, but it's related.
Yeah.
It's all related, because what happened is the reason why the acceptable limits for, oh, by the way, another issue is, just like if you live right next to a cell phone tower, your property value goes down. For this mesh network, Garden City just defeated it, but they're putting up telephone poles, new telephone poles, 3 times the height of old telephone poles.
Yeah, why?
Because
wouldn't that interfere with everyone's private rights?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, property rights, because if you have one of these horrible...
Devaluate the home. Who's going to live in that neighborhood with those big, gigantic tree houses up on top of... oh my God, this is terrible.
They're horrible. And in Garden City, I know they just defeated it. They were trying to do it in Garden City, and they made them bury them.
And how did they do it? Do you know?
They had I shared information with somebody in my office who knew somebody that's a judge. And anyway, a lot of people in Garden City are very proactive, and they show up. They show up. They come in numbers, and they speak to each other, and they're very concerned about aesthetics and how things look.
Don't you think that would travel? News travels fast sometimes. Don't you think that information should travel?
I think so.
Once Garden City was successful, it's like a test case, like case law. Once you get involved in something that works and there's a decision made about it, wouldn't that just travel?
It does travel on the internet, but I don't think it travels in the media.
I was thinking of the communities, like Garden City community knows this kind of community. Rockville Center maybe because it's not too far away.
Oh, right, Rockville Center, I agree. That would be. I think it might be spreading. I'm not sure.
I would think that eventually that would work.
I think so too.
Enough communities would find that why Garden City defeated it might advantage everyone.
I agree. I think it's good to just, that's why it's good to be connected.
Multiply that issue as we go forward. That might work. The thing, I never really thought about the devaluing of the property when you first talked about it, but now, why do the poles have to be so much higher?
I don't know specifically, but I do know intuitively that the higher the poles are, the easier it is
for the radio waves.
And also, basically, then it can go up here, and then it can get read more easily to the nearest cell phone tower, to the satellite. So the higher up it is, then think about it. Like if you have something high up, then it can go down and read things more easily. Whereas if something's at ground level, if there's a hill in the way, the hill's going to stop the reading.
It's going to interfere or something.
So the higher the poles, I think then it's going to surpass the trees. It's going to surpass anything that interferes with the whole mesh network.
Let's go back for a little bit in the last couple of minutes here, talk about the constitutionality or the unconstitutionality of this. From your experience as you're a lawyer, you do some of this work. What are we being deprived of? What rights?
Easy. And by the way, I call this technology trespassing technology. That's the term of art I use, and I call it trespassing technology, because that's what it is. Trespass against your body. I have some notes here.
Yeah.
It travels through your body to its destination. Well, your body is your body, and it's a trespass when something travels through your body to get somewhere else. That's a huge trespass
They're
issue.
borrowing me.
They're borrowing you.
That's right.
And anything that happens to you health-wise, they're not indemnifying you. They're not going to pay for your health.
See, that's where it should stop right there. It's the possibility of me becoming ill because they want to borrow me as a transport of something for some reason. How come? We should all know about that.
We should. I mean, it's similar to a cell phone tower issue, which is another issue, but similar issue. But there you're actually consenting because you're turning it on and we're using it willingly. Here you're not willingly using this. This stuff's going on and off at will. And you're not controlling the button on your cell phone. When you want to turn it off, you turn it off. This is going through your body. That's one issue, right? That's trespass.
That's
the other
trespass,
is
yeah.
the air rights on your property.
Which is something I just found about, thanks to you.
I know, I own my property, I pay a mortgage every month, I pay tremendous real estate taxes to live in Huntington, tremendous, I pay a fortune. Well, they're taking my property rights by creating pathways through the air, and they're not paying me for them. I don't know, I bet you those cell phone towers, they're paying a lot of money for that.
Well, in fairness, let me throw something as a real estate person, you might remember this because I sold real estate. The piece that I bought, the house that I bought, had a certain amount of things on it. There's no place in any of the contract that I signed, if you want to use a contract as a determinable or a fixable piece of paper, it doesn't have any of this information on it. Maybe that's why they're able to get away with it. There's no contract to air, there's no contract to the transfer of radio. Nobody has any of that in their contract. How about the easement? People have easements on their property. Would they have language that might have the easement affectability here?
Well, the only easement that you have when you buy your house, and the newer ones I don't know, because the newer ones are probably going to include this. So my house is built in 1980. So my house, when I bought it, I have a utility easement, which gives them the right to cut trees and to maintain the lines. It doesn't give them the right to go through the air. That's a brand new taking. So I think they're counting on the fact that no one's going to bring this up. And I'm surprised that I'm the only one bringing it up, because I don't really find anyone else bringing up the air rights issue. I think it's a tremendous home run.
Is there anything else besides the trespassing and the air rights?
Well, there's also the privacy issue. When they're reading your, one of the issues, which is a big issue, is when they're reading everything in your house every 15 seconds, they're creating a profile on you. They know when you're home. They know when you're not home. They know what you use. He uses his computer. And what they do is then they sell that, and this is not even a secret. In California, they've acknowledged it. They sell this information to marketing companies. So not only are they making money on your air rights, they're making money on your private information. So they will know when you're using, what you're using, and they will create a profile on you. And it's basically a way of establishing a pattern. And they can take all your usage information and make you into a criminal. Because they can create anything they want if you have enough information about somebody's usage.
So if I use the heck out of an air conditioner, they may think that maybe I have a freezer in the basement or something, and if I live alone, then maybe I'm storing bodies. I'm making this up. That's really a terrible thing, but I mean, let's say
that's true.
So they can identify by the type of use that I have, what character profile I might be.
Exactly. So not only are they selling, they'll be selling your information to marketing companies. They're also going to be able to create a profile on you, and they're going to be able to tell it's
use
your
it as a marketing tool.
Marketing tool, tremendous.
Well, let me tell you, this has been an amazing amount of information in 1/2 hour. I'm so glad. Thank you, Andrew Pettersen, for helping us out. I think it's very interesting. Societal and political trends are breaking the back of American citizens. The amount of government constraints getting more elusive and difficult to understand the purpose to which they exist. On FIT TV, we hope to demonstrate these programs for you so that you will be able to help us help you, to get what you will work best at and remove what no longer has cause and effect relationships to the common good. Thank you for watching FIT TV. My name is Chris DiMaggio, and we'll see you again next week.